Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Next in Time podcast. I'm your host, ST Tangarella, and today our guest is none other than Chris Marshall. One thing you want to know about Chris is that he's the founder and CEO of Portio. He's originally from Missouri, but currently living in Florida. And he was a former real estate investor turned non-technical founder of a startup company called Portio, looking to build tools for real estate investors. And he's looking to make a future impact in the world of real estate investors, helping them make the right decisions and be able to democratize real estate investing in general. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, so how's everything going down there in Florida?
It's pretty good, this time of year. Thunderstorms pretty much every single day, but they're here and gone in like an hour or two, so nothing
Well, I
new.
mean, yeah, because everyone, I've always, the last year or so, it's like everyone's flocking down to Florida these days. And
Yes, yep, lots of us. I'm in that boat, so I can't say that anything negative about them, or else I'd be, down on myself too. But yeah, lots of people moving here.
oh, it makes sense because I've also been to Florida many times myself, and it's a paradise in a way, because especially Central Florida is like that is basically what I call paradise that no one really wants to. Nobody can describe it as. It's like the most paradisical place you'll ever go to, starting from
It's
Cape Canaveral all the way down to Clearwater Beach in Florida, and
yeah,
near
it's
Tampa.
paradise with bugs.
All right, cool. But how's your work been with your startup so far in terms of like your highlights, what you're working on, and what you're trying to build and everything?
Yeah, it's been going pretty good. We've had the MVP out for a couple weeks now. This would be like half of an alpha version, I guess you could say, super early release, and we're getting users onboarded. So that's all good. Getting the spun up for the second round of development and getting the next version out.
Yeah, that's basically your biggest highlight so far of your startup, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm just trying to remember, when did you start your startup?
Um, Pretty long journey. About 2 years ago. First year was very much just me kind of playing around with it. And then the following like 6 to 9 months was going through a cohort, doing customer discovery, redesigning the software, the product, what I was going to be building. And then really started developing just a few months ago. And then just a few weeks ago, we finally got the first version that we could launch, to our domain name and begin getting people on it, playing around with what we're building so far. So
All right, so yeah, let's go through your background. So you said you were a real estate investor in Missouri,
yes, I
and
was.
what was that experience like? Right, like you had like a 15-year career in that area, and then you decided to transition to the startup world. So what was your experience like in being a real estate investor?
Yeah, I don't have quite 15 years of experience as being a real estate investor quite yet. 15 years ago is when I kind of started becoming an entrepreneur. Started pretty early. My father had a construction company. By time I was 20, I'd earned 30% of that company. We ended up selling it off. Soon after, I started my own construction company, and then that transitioned into flipping homes. So I've been a house flipper and real estate investor with single family rentals, some downtown commercial property for 7 years,
Like,
6 years, something like that.
yeah, which part of Missouri again?
This is southeast Missouri, so about an hour south of St. Louis.
So an hour south of St. Louis. So were you flipping houses in the St. Louis area or like in your area?
Nah, the town was called Farmington, Missouri. We primarily flip the downtown historic homes, in Farmington. So we would just find those really, zombie homes, the bad homes that no one wanted, and we try to revitalize them and bring them back up to code and let someone live in them. So.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what flipping means, could you quickly give a brief description of what it is and like why real estate investors get involved with the flipping side of things?
Yeah, for sure. So house flipping in the basic sense is you're just purchasing a property and you're selling it for a profit. So wholesaling is, by the technical definition, house flipping as well. Most people that are in real estate now do not consider wholesaling to be flipping a house. Mostly nowadays house flipping is considered purchasing a house, renovating the house, and then selling it for profit, ideally. So
Yeah, it makes sense because actually, fun fact about me was that I used to be involved in real estate when I graduated college, and I did my own. I didn't. I was working with an investor like yourself. Like it was some. It was kind of someone similar to yourself who was flipping houses and buying and holding property.
nice.
And I was very curious on how this whole process worked. But then I spent a year just doing a bit of lead generation for the investor, just to make sure he's got a bunch of leads that he can just close deals on, and be able to buy it, flip it, and sell it. So that was my experience
Yeah.
with it. I never really got involved with the hardcore construction side of like construction
Gotcha.
management side of flipping. So I
Yeah.
was, but that was like my core experience. But I've learned a lot about how the whole process works. And so since you're the first person on the podcast who was a real estate investor, so it's like a great pleasure having someone with that type of experience on.
Yeah. Cool. Glad I could be here.
All right, cool. So what made you want to move to Florida?
Well, so my parent-in-laws purchased a farm down here in this area that we're in, Ocala. It's horse farms are pretty popular, and so we are actually managing their horse farm while they are still in Missouri, and it's a much better opportunity for building a tech startup down here than in Southeast Missouri. So a lot more people, a lot more investors, just a lot more going on in general in this area than in Missouri. So.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, tell me more about the vision you're trying to create for Portio. Like, what's the problem you're trying to solve, and like, how is your startup trying to solve that problem?
Yeah, for sure. So the main problem that we're seeing right now is we have large institutions just coming in and sweeping up all these properties. They'll just go into a town that they think is going to be on the rise, and they'll just buy like every single family home and then just rent them out to everybody in that town. It makes it really hard for the newer investors, those trying to get into it, start growing their companies, to find adequate deals or deals of any kind. And so basically what I'm trying to build is a platform to help kind of democratize that, take some of that power back away from those people by giving some really powerful tools, analytics, systems, processes to these newer investors to go in and kind of be competitive in this crazy market that we have right now.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that there've been a lot of stories out there that high level institutions like BlackRock, Vanguard, they're coming out there
Yeah.
buying single family houses left and right, and then using
Yes.
that as like investment proper and like turning them into rental properties where the average American is trying to look for a home to live in
Yeah.
rather than renting for the rest of their lives. So I think, is that what you're trying to do, is trying to democratize home ownership again after like a period of time where you have large institutional like investment firms buying up property. So yeah, that was a question.
Kind of. Yeah. Not really going so much after the homeowner, more of helping the people that are trying to achieve financial freedom by getting, 5 to like a dozen single family homes, under management, under their own personal management, um, helping them get started, find sufficient deals or find flips if they're the fix and flipper type, find adequate deals that'll actually be able to provide a profit at the end of the day for them.
Got it. And so if you're trying to, let's say, present this app to an investor, like,
Yeah.
how are you navigating them through this?
Yeah. So the actual software or just kind of like the process or what?
Well, let's say start with both. Let's say start with the software first. Just talk about the user experience, like how the user is going to use it, and then also how the process is going to be.
Yeah. So right now we're primarily targeting house flippers. When we're doing all of our, customer discovery, what seems like forever ago, which was only a few months ago. we found out that house flippers are actually the people who need the most help. So we targeted them first. So we're typically going after house flippers right now. And what we'll do is we'll hop on a call with them and I'll show them the software beforehand, get their questions because we are so early. We don't even have like the tutorial, the in-app tutorial, like a lot of software will have nowadays. And so I just make certain they're familiar with it. I get them onboarded, signed up, and all that stuff. And then they use it basically every day. So as they do this activity called driving for dollars, which is a pretty common thing for most real estate investors, they'll just find properties that they like. They'll kind of add it into the platform. And then when they're ready to, they'll go in and do the analysis. And the analysis is a pretty in-depth calculator, complete with this pretty intuitive, advanced rehab walkthrough calculator portion within that. And so they spend, a little bit of time at the property, make certain that they got all the financial details about the property correct, generates a nice report that they can then send off to their team. So a banker that they've already talked to and have an established relationship with, realtors, lenders, hard money lenders, whatever, other investors that they know, like, and trust. They can send it all out, make certain that everything looks good, start collecting those funds, close on the property quickly, and get working on it.
Okay, because I just want to ask regarding the process, because it is democratizing the process, but there are some areas where I wanted to ask more, like clarify more, like for example, because
Absolutely.
like everywhere, I used to work in real estate. I did, I was helping out investors source deals. I was encountering I've also been encountering like software like yours is that's whose mission was to like democratize real estate investing and like make it easier for people to find let's say find distressed property to flip, or let's say other new deals to buy, like cheap, like more affordable deals to buy. So how is it that you're trying to make your app different from the others? Because there's like so many apps out there in real estate right now that everyone wants to get in there and chime in and say, okay, I want to buy this. I want to buy the house on this app or that app or something like that.
Yeah. So we are the biggest difference between ours and pretty much everyone else's. We don't find the deals for you. So there are some very powerful, very good tools for deal flow to get like those leads. Ours is basically everything after that initial deal comes in. So one of these tools will send you like, hey, we got a notification, or a wholesaler will, send you a property request or something like that, or a proposal. Now it's your turn. You go out there, you look at the property, make certain that it's going to hit your key financial tests and your benchmarks throughout the software that we set up with you. And then once it's all done, we help put in place the project plan, the scope of work, all that good stuff.
So is the app doing all the work for you in a way?
Yes. So we are still very early. Not all the tools are built out, but in the future, we are working on everything from scope of work generation. So you put in what needs to be done, and we'll be able to generate that scope of work for those new home investors that don't know how to do the work themselves or plan out a project. We're helping people generate their financial or their lending plan. So how are they actually going to get this property financed? Where's the money for the down payment coming? Where are they going to be able to use, or what are they going to be able to use for the renovation budget? All that stuff. So we put together a finance plan, scope of work, product picking list for, big box retailers. So how many 2x4s and sheets of drywall do you need to toilets and mirrors, all that stuff.
Okay.
We're building the plan part out to make certain that they understand what they need to do in order to get this job done.
Yeah, because I've also seen what is it the other apps like? What do you see are the weaknesses of your competition in a way?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. So number one is Google Sheets, probably our largest competitor, and any software in the real estate investing world, their largest competitor is Google Sheets. It's very powerful. The problem is it's not very professional, and it does have its limitations. So our software actually came from spreadsheets. And right now, the report actually looks like a spreadsheet when people generate out those reports, because that's what I built all my software on and tools on, is spreadsheets. So now we're going through and we're turning all these really cool things that people could do with spreadsheets into really powerful software with some other really cool bells and whistles added on. So
Interesting, because so what you're trying to do, so the vision of what you're trying to build is that you're just trying to say, okay, I'm this this new guy starting out in real estate, I'm looking to buy a nice piece of property that I just want to fix, flip, and then hold or sell, or
Yep.
make, or let's say buy or buy hold, because there's like three different, multiple ways of multiple strategies for real estate in a
Oh, for
nutshell.
sure. Yep.
So I can basically, it's going to be the way you're trying to build it is trying to make it feasible for all kinds of strategies from real estate investing, right?
Yeah. So ideally, roadmap of development down the line, we're going to be able to analyze any given property and basically tell you what the best type of investing would be for that property. So you'd analyze the property and you'd say, or it would tell you that if you were to turn this into a rental property, that the outcome would be kind of this. You're going to have, maybe $250 a month cash flow, but over time your ROI would be this. Or if you were to flip it, you'd make maybe $6,000 when you sold it, but your ROI is, a fraction of the thing. So do you want to flip it or do you want to rent it out? And, we give them the details and the analysis. It's up to them to choose which one to do, but at least they're powered with that.
Are you looking to integrate AI into this or something like that?
Yes. So my end goal is for this to be Jarvis from Iron Man. If you're familiar with Jarvis and Iron Man, I want this to be the Jarvis for real estate investors.
So. All right. So let's just make it more about, okay, hey, let's, what property are you trying to buy? And then respond with X or Y, and then this and that. And just how much are you going to pay and how much you're willing to invest and blah. You're just going to set a questionnaire of a bunch of things that you're looking for in an investor so they can give the right solution.
Kind of, yeah. You could call it a questionnaire. It's, you're going to go through and do the analysis like anything else. And then basically on our side or within the system, we're going to be able to tell you things like you're not estimating enough time for your renovation time. People in similar areas using similar contractors have, been taking 3 weeks to do this size of a tile job, and you're estimating only 1 week. We'd be able to analyze and say, well, if you're using this contractor, we know that their on-time percentage is off by, 40%. So you need to add an additional 40% if you really do want to use that contractor. So we're building out ways to be able to track nearly everything that you can do that would touch a real estate investment, and then be able to give guidance on your plan. So.
Makes sense. It is is a very holistic vision that you're trying to solve there. But right now, as you mentioned, you're currently on the MVP stage. But what are you currently where do you see yourself going in the next couple of years with this product?
In the next couple of years,
well, this is the Next in Time podcast where we focus more on the future.
Yeah, I think I've been so focused on the next year that the next few years just seem so far away. I think we're going to be on track. 4, 5, 6 years down the line, probably have most of this software built out. That's with an AI equivalent to Jarvis. I think as AI technology is advancing, we'll be able to do it. And we don't have like the craziest AI team or anything like that to build it out. But many developers working on a very robust platform, I think, would be the answer.
Yeah. So to elaborate, maybe your 5-year plan. Let's say you're focusing on the next year, as you mentioned. like what are the next things you're looking to accomplish within within the next year?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if I'm allowed to say this. We are currently looking to do our first fundraise.
Yeah.
We're still not exactly sure what that looks like yet. And then we are working on our development roadmap, just continue to go down the line of what we're building out and implementing into the software. So,
All right, cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna wrap up with some other questions, including like what let's just say, for example, if for the coming year, like you said, you're trying to look for your investors and everything like that. Do you see any like major challenges? I know every founder has challenges, but what specific challenges are you facing in finding those investors?
uh, finding investors for the fund or finding investors for the software. So I'm in a pretty unique situation. When I talk to a lot of people, I will say investors and they will ask me that question. I'm like, I
Let's
gotta
say
remember, I need to find real estate investors.
okay, let's
Those are my
just
users.
say, yeah, I was just going to say investors for your product and investors for, let's just say for the projects you're going to be onboarding on your app.
Yeah. So the number one thing is we have, kind of a collapse of the tech funding ecosystem right now. There's a lot of VCs and groups that are, being a little bit tighter with their funding. We're not seeing these crazy funding rounds like we've seen in the past or the last few years. So that's definitely not great. Um, and then as far as getting real estate investors on the platform, we have not really begun to see the collapse of the real estate market this time around. I am on the side that we are due for a real estate collapse. And I think, broad market terms, we're probably going to see a dive here in the coming year, probably. So that's not great when you're talking about building a real estate investment software app. But the ones that hold through are going to be the ones that actually make it, just like we saw in 2008. It's the people who were buying during that time who made fortune. So those are the people who will be looking for. So,
All right, cool. So let me ask you the last question. So what advice would you give to other founders and visionaries of the future, like yourself?
yeah, one thing I would definitely say is something that I'm having a problem with right now is the company name. I would definitely make certain you do quite a bit of research before picking a name and getting too far down the line, investing a lot of time in logos and design and branding stuff and domain names. Um, I will leave it up to your audience to go Google Portio and find out why. But we are rebranding. So definitely put some more time and thought and do some trademark searches and stuff like that. So that's stuff we're working on right now before we get too much further on this development pipeline. So yeah.
All right, cool. All right, Chris, thank you again for coming on the show. And yeah, looking forward to seeing your success.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here.